Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro rolling out hour number 2 on a Tuesday. So glad you could join us. We are also broadcasting live on our YouTube page, the Vegas Take page, if you want to watch and hear at the same time. Watch and listen at the same time. Imagine that. Imagine that technology. Anyway, welcome back to the show. This is one of our hours that we love to have every week, and it is joining us right now in studio. He is a activist. He's done a lot of good things for a lot of people here in Las Vegas. He is Minister Stretch Sanders. Stretch, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Good morning, guys. Bless you. I'm glad to be here.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to have you, and you're always so well dressed. I'm always so jealous. I need some help with that. All right, let's start with Colin Kaepernick because this is the big story. I'm pretty passionate about this, and this is, of course, Colin Kaepernick over the weekend. Basically, it was a job interview. That's exactly what it was, and he was set up to in front of 25 different teams, representations of 25 different teams in the Atlanta Falcons complex. So what does he decide to do? A couple hours before this workout, he decides to change venues, claiming something in the I guess it was the clause in a contract by the NFL, something in there that he just didn't like. Very suspicious. So he decides to change to another venue because he claims he wanted the media there, yet he has done literally no interviews. So all of a sudden he cares about the media. The worst thing about this whole thing was he's wearing this Kunta Kinte shirt. Let's be honest, and let's make no mistake about it. Colin Kaepernick has never been a slave. Does that mean he's never been the victim of racism? No, I would never say that. I would imagine he probably is telling the truth. He probably has. But for him to wear a shirt like that in a job interview, and we all know the reason why many of these owners do not want to sign this guy is for that very reason, because, he does things like that. It was ridiculous, and it proved to me that he is a fraud, that he is not serious about getting back into the NFL. I don't think he ever was. He's making more money off the field than on the field. He wants to be a martyr. That's what he cares about more than actually making a football team. He doesn't answer questions by the media on the field. He speaks for about 90 seconds. And I think it was disgusting for him to wear that shirt. And there are many African Americans that agree with me that were actually on his side up until now. And they're very frustrated with him. They're very upset that he wore that shirt. And he made it out more to be about him, and it made it out to be a PR stunt than actually playing in the NFL. Okay, Stretch, what do you say?
So I haven't saw the shirt. I did see the interview he did when he had the football shirt. So you're not talking about that?
He wore a Kunta Kinte shirt, a reference to slavery that he wore during the workout. Completely unacceptable. And I compare it to wearing a Fidel Castro shirt, a man who massacred millions of people.
When you say Kunta Kinte, you mean because Kunta Kinte was a fake character of the movie Roots, so it was like
it's a reference to slavery
of a slave.
Yes, it's a reference to slavery.
There's nothing wrong with that because that's
to a job interview.
I mean, at the end of the day, this is what Colin stands, and this is why I agree with him. He's not to be controlled. See, what we don't like, the NFL is ran, obviously, by white, rich, elite men, and Colin feels if he's going to play the game, he's going to play on his terms.
You can't do that. That's the employer, though. You can't have that attitude.
But he's the act, and he has more power than we may give him credit, and that's why the teams have to do what he wants. See,
that's not true,
when you're in a position of power, you can do that.
But that's not true, though. He can't do whatever he wants. He's getting a paycheck from the NFL. In what job can you show up to your boss and say, I'm going to do whatever I want? There's no difference here, Stretch.
But NFL, you can't compare that job as somebody who works at a corporate office.
There are people that own the team just like there are people that own companies. It's the exact same thing.
People are paying for his talent.
So you think if you had a job interview, you would show up in a Kunta Kinte shirt and you think that's appropriate?
But if I'm in that position, culturally, Colin has always wore different clothing like that, right? He did a press conference before where he had a black suit on with a picture of Chairman Fred Hampton of the Black Panther Party at a press conference. So he's always been into cultural awareness and things like that.
I understand, but a press conference is very different than a job interview.
He definitely expresses himself politically through his attire.
You would agree, though, that
he also owns about 500 pairs of shoes.
So what message is that? Why are we bringing up slavery again? Why would he do that in a job interview? It's not my fault that slavery happened. It's not the fault of these people that run NFL teams that slavery happened. What are we trying to put white people with white guilt? I had nothing to do with slavery. I wish it didn't happen. But as far as, today, I don't want to hear about slavery. I want to know what's going on today.
Colin's a hero to me because, number one, he sends an example that he takes a knee. So let's go back, right? He takes a knee, to protest police terrorism and the injustice that black people face by police.
And what are his solutions?
And by doing that, he raised mass awareness, right? And he wasn't, let me be clear, he wasn't the first athlete to do that. There's many athletes who took a stand.
I don't understand what that means.
He's taking a stand, not just for black people, but for anybody of goodwill who wants to eliminate racism.
Well,
and he's also showing, too, that you can use any platform you stand on to fight for racial justice.
Your definition of
that's
hero.
Why he's a hero.
Okay, I respect your opinion, but I disagree with you 100%. My definition of a hero is very different than your definition of a hero. You know what a hero is to me? Someone who risks their life or does something and put themselves in harm's way to help others. He didn't put himself in harm's way. What did he do?
He sacrificed his career.
You know what? He sacrificed his career. He was a backup quarterback in the NFL. His career was ending very shortly. He's made more money off the field than on the field. That is no hero. A hero, I'm going to tell you something. If he was a hero, he wouldn't have taken that contract with Nike. He wouldn't have made more money off the field than on the field. If that was the case, I would agree with you. And in regards to being a hero, what has actually happened with this issue? You say raise awareness. Okay. If you didn't think that there was racism and there were issues between law enforcement and minorities, you're a moron and you're probably a racist yourself. Do you really believe there's some racist in Alabama, right?
But no real celebrities and no athletes are speaking out on it. So it took Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick's doing the same thing that John Carlos and Tommy Smith did with the Olympics with raising the black fist. He's doing the same thing that Muhammad Ali did with refusing to draft.
But he's not doing the same thing that Muhammad Ali did, because Muhammad Ali spoke to politicians. He actually did a lot more for his cause.
Colin has camps. He does Know Your Right campaigns.
He hasn't spoken to one politician. He hasn't gone to one police precinct. He hasn't spoken to one police chief.
Well, we don't know that to be factual. And secondly,
no, we do, because
he
was asked about that.
Politicians to bring change.
So what has he done?
He's brought awareness.
And have any laws changed on the books because of him? Have any laws changed on the books because of him?
But understand this, though. Conversations like what we're having right now, we're having this conversation now because of his awareness.
We had it after Rodney King, too. These conversation has been ongoing for years. I disagree with you. This has been going on for a long time. I have a problem. Like I said, I respect your opinion, but I have a problem with you calling Kaepernick a hero, someone who's made more money off the field than on the field. If he really, truly cared about this issue, he would do what hundreds of other NFL current and former players have done. You know what that is? They've gone to Washington. They've gone to local police precincts. Yes, he's donated some money for charity. He's done some charitable contributions.
Question.
Throwing money at some of these, communities is not going to solve the problem.
If you're an advocate for social change and you don't go to politicians, then you're not being productive?
We're not talking about you now. We are talking about Colin Kaepernick, who has a huge, major platform. We're talking about someone who has the ability to speak to President Trump. You're talking about someone who has the ability to speak to any politician he wants to go into any local precinct. They will listen to him. He has that platform. We're not talking about some everyday Joe.
Eventually he will, but I also think that we need to...
I don't think so. I disagree.
We need to never, ever underestimate the power of awareness and the power of influence. What he has done is he's taken a political platform. Many athletes that are on his level are cowardly. They're afraid. This man sacrificed his job. So the Nike campaigns, everything he's getting, he deserves that because he took a stand.
What do you mean he sacrificed his job? He had a chance to stay in the NFL, and he did that with his contract where he decided not to continue that contract.
Colin Kaepernick's not a slave, and that's what we need in the athletics. These white supremacists that run these political teams, run these athletic teams, they want slaves. They go get black people who are from the hood, Hispanics who are from the hood, white people who are from poor white areas, and they try to make you do what they want you to do because they're dangling money above you. Colin Kaepernick is saying, no. You can be rich, but we're going to be partners. It's a partnership. You want my talent. He don't need the check, and they're not used to that. They're used to people who are scratching when they don't itch, laughing when it's not funny, bending when they shouldn't bend. And he's saying, I'm not the athlete who don't have the intelligence and who doesn't have the platform that has to be forced to compromise. We know we've heard influential TV talk show hosts like Steve Harvey say, this is the money game, right? Colin Kaepernick is saying this is not the money game. He's saying what Monique said, this is the integrity game. So he's standing on integrity, and he's saying, I'm not finna buck dance and shuck and drive because you want to pay me. So that's why it's taken 3 years of debates and 3 years of them negotiating because he refused to be controlled. And there's an old tune that says, he who pays the piper controls the sound. So because they figure that they can pay him, they can control his sound. But the difference is, without his talent, you don't have a business. If everybody on the NFL boycotted right now, the NFL goes out of business. And so he has the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding to understand, hey, I'm not just an NFL player. I'm not just an athlete. I actually have a voice,
All right,
and I'm going to use that voice to stand for justice for my people and oppressed people. So that's why he's a hero, and that's why I respect and salute him.
There's a lot you said there that I want to address, but if you're joining us right now in studio, it is the Minister Stretch Sanders. We're talking about Colin Kaepernick, and we will open up the phone lines to you. I say that Colin Kaepernick is pathetic. I think he's a liar. I think he's a fraud, and I think he's in this for himself. And we're taking your phone calls on this. Obviously, Stretch disagrees with me. What do you think about?
I don't.
Let me just give out the number first. What do you agree or disagree with me? 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. 702-257-5396. If you want to be a part of this discussion. JD, go ahead.
I don't think that he's a fraud necessarily, but I don't think that he is. And I look at it from a football perspective. I don't think he's a great football player. He led the league in fumbles his final year. He's never been able to break down a coverage. I don't believe he's smart enough to be a professional quarterback. I think he's an interception or a turnover waiting to happen. I think if you look like a Kyler Murray or a Deshaun Watson or a Lamar Jackson, I don't think that Colin Kaepernick has the athletic ability to make up for what he lacks mentally, at least on the football field. But off the football field, obviously, yeah, I think you're right, Stretch, that he has definitely created – I mean, he's definitely created more awareness to this issue. I mean, that can't be denied. I mean, Nike did a Grammy-winning campaign.
But awareness isn't enough.
An Emmy-winning campaign. No, I mean, but I think that he has increased. He has increased the amount that people are thinking about how poorly African Americans are treated by police officers.
Okay,
and
but again,
awareness is not enough. I agree with JD.
It still matters to a degree. And now, have laws been changed? No, but he has definitely been a part of that. But I do think that he kind of baits though. You know, with wearing the shirt that he wore and the Fidel Castro socks. I think he likes to kind of create chaos. He's a bit of a merchant of chaos.
I don't think he creates chaos.
But
you don't think wearing a Kunta Kinte shirt is creating chaos?
My issue with him is that from a purist football perspective, he just is not good enough. And I watched that. Well, I watched that workout, and he had a couple of good throws. I mean, he's still got an elite arm, like a very strong arm. But
I agree. We can go into the weeds we can go into the weeds of how good of a quarterback he is.
But that's why he's
to me
not,
that's not the big issue.
But that's why he's not signed. It's not because it's because he could definitely play in the NFL. But the risk isn't worth the reward right now. And he's a bit of a cancer in the locker room, and his talent doesn't outweigh the negativities that come along with it. The only team that should sign him is a program who needs notoriety and who needs attention to themselves.
I understand.
Like the Cincinnati Bengals, who are 0-10 currently. Like that would make sense. But besides that, no NFL team, I don't think, should take a risk on Kaepernick because he's not going to produce on the field, in my opinion.
I understand what you're saying. I don't want to sit here and break down his arm. I think we all could agree, if not for this issue, he probably would be a backup quarterback somewhere. He's no better than that, and I would just leave it at that. But with that being said,
may I add this?
Yeah.
So I agree with JD in some instances. Brian, you say that awareness isn't enough.
Of course
awareness
not.
isn't enough for you. Awareness is important to the black community because at the end of the day, we have not had certain opportunities to be exposed to knowledge to change our condition. Secondly, I will add this. The Bible says, as a man thinketh so in his heart, so is he. For us to change our thought process, we have to be educated. To be educated, you have to be aware of what you're learning. So we have been able to learn about police terrorism and learn how it has impacted our community to bring forth solutions. We can't bring forth solutions unless and until someone stands up and brings awareness.
All right.
So awareness is very influential in the black community. I can speak for no other community, but for the black community,
but to me,
we need to be aware and educated.
If there's someone in this country that didn't think there were issues between minorities and law enforcement, and you saw Colin Kaepernick ticketing and you said, "Oh my God, I didn't know," then you're a moron. That's just my personal opinion. We're going to take some phone calls now because the phone lines are full at 257-5396. Let's start off with Calvin. Calvin, you're up with the Minister Stretch on the Vegas Take. What's up?
What's up, Calvin?
I just don't understand why you're so hard against this man for standing up for a right that the United States provides.
That's not true. That is.
Yes, it does.
No, it's not.
Provides the right for him to voice his
Not if
opinion.
you're receiving a paycheck. Your bosses have the right to tell you you're not allowed to take a knee if they think it's hurting their product. That is not
You know
true.
what? That's not the issue I'm talking about. The issue I'm saying is I don't understand why you're so negative towards him. You're not paying him a cent.
I'll give you several
Doesn't
instances
matter
and then I will
if
let
he's
you
getting
respond.
paid.
I will give you several reasons and then I will let you respond. Is that fair?
Okay,
thank you.
Fair.
Okay, let's start off with over the weekend. He wears a Kinte shirt, a reference to slavery. He has a job interview. He made it more about him than about getting a job, number one. Number two, he wears a Fidel Castro shirt, a man who massacred millions of people. If somebody killed your family and you saw somebody wearing a shirt of the murderer who killed your family, would you feel the same way about him? That's number two. Number three, he wore pig socks, depicting all police officers as pigs. And we all know, not every police officer is a racist. Not every police officer is a pig. In fact, many of these police officers are heroes. Yes, there are absolutely some bad apples in the bunch, but to reference all police officers as pigs is disgusting. If you want to be at the forefront of this issue and you care about this issue, then you better well damn right not wear a Fidel Castro shirt. You better well damn right go to Washington, speak to politicians, speak to local law enforcement. He has done none of those things. Kneeling is not enough, my friend.
Okay. Just to let you know, I was a police officer here in Clark County for 30 years. I don't care what kind of sock this man wears. He can do what he want to do. That's him. I don't have to think he's a great person or whatever. He could be disgusting as whatever.
That's
but
right.
he has a right to do what he's doing. And then as far as respecting the flag, I never say the pledge to this American flag.
Come on.
When there were slaves on ships that sunk, and they stayed the flag and let the slaves go down.
I don't have a problem with him kneeling. I don't have a Calvin.
How can I respect that?
Calvin, I agree with you there. I never said he didn't have the right to do what he did. Okay, all I'm
But
trying.
you're saying because he's getting paid, he shouldn't do it. Just
No,
fire
that's
him.
not what
they
I
have to
said.
do.
That's listen to me, Calvin. Listen to me.
All
And by
right,
the
I'm
way,
listening, sir.
okay, and I appreciate your service as a law enforcement police officer. I do. You have the right to take a knee. I don't have a problem with anybody taking a knee, but the law states, as your employer, if they think you're hurting their product or they think it's inappropriate, they have the right to tell you not to do it. That your First Amendment right does not apply. It's only as far as the government is concerned. You can take a knee on your sidewalk in your front lawn.
What? They already fired him, sir. He's done. My thing is, I don't see why you have such a problem calling him all these names.
I just gave you several reasons, and you haven't addressed any of them.
There's no reason for it.
So you're okay with him wearing? So you're okay with him wearing a Fidel Castro shirt? For the record, you're okay with that? Really? So if I wore an Adolf Hitler shirt, I'm so really.
All right, Calvin, he can.
I'm not saying he can't. I'm not saying he can't wear it.
He can wear what he wants to wear, but that doesn't change the fact that he is a bit of a merchant of chaos, and he's bringing attention to himself for whatever reason. You can't deny
we
that
got
fact.
a president lying every day, and
We're
you
not
guys
talking.
take up for him.
Excuse me. Have you ever listened to the?
right to say
Excuse
what
me,
he wants,
Calvin.
even though he's a
Now you
lying
just said.
president.
Now you just said something ignorant. So now I'm going to set you straight, Calvin. Okay? Have
you
you
can set
ever?
me straight, but
Yeah,
you can't
please,
change
please.
who I am.
Excuse me. Let me talk now. Okay?
Go ahead.
I go
It's
after
your
the.
show.
I go after the president every single day. I think he's a despicable human being, and the fact that you would say I support the president or I lie for the president is disgusting and ignorant. Goodbye. Obviously, you've never listened to this show before. For you to make a statement like that is ridiculous.
He actually called in last time Stretch was here.
Yeah, well, that was a ridiculous phone call.
Well, I would say, Calvin, thank you for your words.
Yeah, thanks for the call.
I appreciate everything Calvin said. I 100% agree with Calvin.
What, that I support Donald Trump?
No. I'm talking about that came later. I'm talking about Calvin's point was let the man wear what he want to wear, and also understanding that he has a right to express himself any way he chooses to. And
I didn't say it was against the law,
but also too,
I just have no respect for him.
Fidel Castro was a revolutionary. You can't compare Fidel Castro.
He killed
to
millions
Adolf
of innocent
Hitler.
people. Yes, I can.
You can't compare Fidel
He was
Castro.
an evil. Yes, I can. He was an evil, murderous dictator. He killed millions of people. Last I checked, Adolf Hitler killed 7 million Jews. Castro was responsible for killing millions of innocent people. How is that not the same? He is an evil, murderous dictator.
Well, let me say this.
I'm just saying. How can you defend? You're not defending Fidel Castro. Don't tell me you're doing that.
I'm going to defend Colin Kaepernick.
That's fine, but don't defend Fidel Castro.
I'm not. But I'm not against Fidel Castro. But
he killed millions of people.
I'm going to focus on Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick, because we have to understand something. A lot of times, especially from the white community, and I've said this in the past, we expect because the reality is the white community sets the standard. So most people who have a problem with Kaepernick's socks and the shirts are those from the European American demographic. At the same token, it's not for our white family to understand. It's for you to accept the fact that we have a right to express ourselves the way we choose to.
If you're not earning a paycheck, the employer does not has the right to tell you not to do something. He's getting paid through the NFL. The owners have a right to say you're hurting our product.
If the business, say for example, the San Francisco 49ers attendance is going down and the revenue is going down, and they are paying Colin Kaepernick as an employee of their team, they have every single right to tell him, hey, we believe that this is affecting our bottom line, and we'd like you to stop this.
Colin Kaepernick has the right to say, I'm not your Colin Kaepernick has the right to say, I'm not your slave, and I will do things on my terms.
Well, he has never been a slave.
But you're creating a thin line between slave and employee, and
completely different.
I think that that's not even the same.
I think that's unfair. But let's take some more phone calls. Let's see what you think at 257-5396. Let's go to Vanessa. Vanessa, you're on with Minister Stretch. Go ahead, Vanessa.
What's up, Vanessa?
Yes. Good morning. I'd like to say that Minister Stretch does not speak for the African American community. I'm an African American woman. And I believe that Mr. Kaepernick was out of line because, as you mentioned, he was hired to play football.
Right.
And that was his job. Now, if he wanted to be an activist and stand up for whatever he believes in,
that's
he
fine.
can do that on his own time. That's just like if you hire a cook, that cook is not supposed to do the plumbing in that company. He's hired to do his job. Do what you want to do on your own time.
Vanessa.
And the same Bible that you're mentioning, Minister Stretch, also says that you're supposed to do everything decently and in order. And he is totally out of order. So I want to put it on the record as a black woman. You do not represent me. I stand for what's right. And now that he's not playing in the NFL, he can kneel all he wants on his own time.
Vanessa, I think that is very well said, and obviously I agree with you. Let me ask you this. Why is it so difficult, Vanessa, for some African Americans to understand that if you work for somebody, they have a right to tell you what you can and cannot do as far as, taking a knee? Why is it so hard for African Americans to understand that?
I can't speak for all African Americans, but I'm all about what's right, and I'm about wisdom. Now, wisdom would dictate if you're hired to do a job, do that job. And if you're wearing that uniform and if you're on the payroll, then do the job. I can't speak for all African Americans, but I can speak for myself. And it's just foolishness. And he put himself in this position, and now he wants to come back and play. He should have thought about all that before he started doing this foolishness.
Well, you know what, Vanessa? Here's what I think, Vanessa, and we got to go to break. And by the way, I do appreciate the call. Thank you so much,
May I respond
Vanessa.
before we go to break?
We have like 30 seconds. I'd rather give you more time when we come back. Is that okay?
Yes.
Is that all right? Okay. I promise you, Stretch. We'll go right to you when we come back. I will say this. If he really, truly wanted to go back and play football, he would not have worn a Kunta Kinte shirt and he would not have changed venues. I think that's obvious. But I'm going to give Stretch, I'm going to give you a chance to respond. I will give you ample time when we come back. Adol, John, Brian, Ron, Al, Devin, I promise I will get to all of your calls on the other side of the break. Just sit tight for a few minutes. I promise I will get to all of you. We have one phone line open, 257-5396, 702-257-5396. Back with Minister Stretch Sanders and all your phone calls on the other side of the break. You are listening to The Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN. Sounds like my therapist. Welcome back. It is The Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro. Our special guest in studio is Minister Stretch Sanders. We're talking about Colin Kaepernick. We're talking about what I believe to be a sham of what took place over the weekend. He wears a Kunta Kinte shirt. He changes venues, so on and so forth. Do you think Colin Kaepernick deserves a venue to play in the NFL? I say no after what took place over the weekend. And, of course, we're taking your calls really quickly before we take those calls. Special guest tomorrow, Oscar Goodman, the former mayor of Las Vegas, will be joining us. On Thursday, the Mooch, Anthony Scaramucci, will be joining us, along with Michael Avenatti in studio and former governor and presidential candidate John Kasich. So some very big guests to round out the week. Let's get right to the phone calls. 257-5396 is the number. There are a few lines that are open. Let's go to Devin. Devin, you're on with the minister. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Stretch, I told you I was going to call in, so I appreciate this opportunity. My first, I want to profile myself. I'm obviously black, male. I own a business. So naturally, I'm going to comment about the Kaepernick thing. I don't think that when you work for someone, I don't think you have the right to determine what you can wear whatever you want. Right, that's how I think.
That's not true, though.
Business owner.
But
so I will disagree with you, the host, that he should wear something that's more complimenting for the job that he wants.
Can I ask you a question, Devin, in regards to that, and then I'll let you continue if that's okay? So if you own a business and a white person walked in with a shirt that said white power, you wouldn't have a problem with that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's what we're talking about.
But even if I'm actually agreeing with you on this subject of the attire.
Okay.
Right. So even if it wasn't white power, white businesses, we we have dress codes for those that work for us.
Of course, right.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Of course.
So in that regard, and again, mind you, I'm a Colin Kaepernick supporter.
I hear you.
Which the reason why I called was to address the hero thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, and before I do, I just want to address the Fidel Castro thing, because do we hold some of our presidents that own slaves in reverence? Because if we do, then we have to at some point maybe try to understand the complexity of Castro if we're going to say and be okay with some of our former presidents.
Okay, well, here's the difference.
slaves
There's a very important
historically.
distinction there. If somebody, I don't know, obviously I never would have agreed with slavery, but it wasn't against the law back then. The presidents weren't breaking the law. Make no mistake about it. Fidel
But
Castro
they
murdered
broke the law,
people.
though, didn't they?
Excuse me?
I said presidents, and I'm saying back when our country was founded, right?
Yes, yes.
There were the laws that were created, again, were those that were created by other racists or white supremacists at the time. So my point is that whether or not he actually wrote, let's say, proposed the law, but some of our early presidents were actually those that signed it into law.
Then I wouldn't
But
support.
At the end of the day, just because there was a law that said it okay didn't mean it was okay.
Then I wouldn't. Then I wouldn't support anybody wearing those shirts either. If that's what you're trying to reference, then make no mistake about it. Fidel Castro is an evil, murderous dictator, and he murdered many people.
But may I add?
So in that,
So then by that logic,
would you
then you
tell a
can't
white-
support George Washington on the dollar bill.
Thank you. It's hypocritical because this is the thing.
That's all that I'm saying.
If we're gonna
Guys,
change-
hold on. Guys, hold on. I only got 2 seconds because I know I'm going to get cut off. You guys got. Let me get my Kaepernick thing in. What I wanted to call about. I'm sorry for cutting you guys off, but I know it's limited. There's a lot of calls.
No problem.
There's when we look at the hero aspect, right? Typically, when it comes to the black heroes that are those to African Americans, often are very different than those that are white Americans, right? White Americans have the luxury of having plenty of heroes. Ours normally come out of our struggle for equality and for equity, even just to be a human being.
Agree, and that's why we have Martin Luther King Day. Martin Luther King was a hero.
Right, correct, right? Right. He's one of those people that I think transcended race
Sure.
for America and in the world. However, we also have heroes that fight for our additional struggles, because just because Martin Luther King did what he did, it wasn't over. It still continued, maybe even in different ways.
What did he
I
sacrifice?
don't think it's fair.
What did Colin Kaepernick sacrifice? What did he sacrifice? He didn't
So
sacrifice
to me,
money. He
when you
didn't
look at
sacrifice career.
again, so when you look at sacrifice today is different than it was back then. Just like oppression is different today than it was back then. So I don't try to equate sacrifice today with sacrifice back then.
No, I'm saying right now.
Did he sacrifice anything? Yes, he did.
I disagree. And listen, Devin, I appreciate your phone call. I got to get to other calls, and I respect your opinion. Here's why I disagree with you. He's making more money off the field than on the field. He decided not to play in the NFL. He had another year in his contract. He turned it down. Make no mistake about that. To me, that's not sacrifice. Let's take some more phone calls. 257-5396 is the number to call. Minister Stretch Sanders in studio. Let's go to John. John, what's up? John, go ahead.
Yeah, my biggest thing is, like I said, there's a right and a wrong way to do it. The way he's doing it, it's not just trying to prove his point. It also promotes a lot of hate. There's too much racist hate in this country as it is, and it's pretty pathetic. And like you said, I'm a white man. If I go walking around with white power, if I go around wearing Hitler, it's not, no matter what kind of point I'm trying to prove,
you'd be a jackass.
It ain't going to prove.
Right, of course. Let's
It'd be nothing but
John
you'd
stay
be
on the line.
And it's going to draw negative attention no matter what.
Exactly.
John, I want you
Because
to.
I'm not a famous, rich, millionaire football player.
John, I want you to
It's
stay
not
on the
to be taken
line.
away.
I want you to stay on the line. Let's
Okay.
let Minister address you. Go ahead, the Minister Stretch.
Go ahead.
Well, one of the ways that we have to think about this, if we're going to end racism, that's my desire, is to dwell in a world of harmony and love. We have to stop comparing white struggle and white leaders and white oppressors to black oppression and black heroes. As the last gentleman said, the people who we celebrate are typically those who led us out of freedom. Kunta Kinte is a made-up character from a movie that told the story, the first movie that told the story of slavery. By him wearing Kunta Kinte, number one, it celebrates freedom. It celebrates the fact that we've come this far, that Kunta Kinte, even though Kunta Kinte is not a real character, he represents real slaves The real slaves who literally was sold on chopping blocks, who were hung and whipped, paid the way for the Michael Jordans and the Colin Kaepernicks and Muhammad Ali's. So he's not wearing Kunta Kinte to try to be controversial or to disrespect anybody. He's saying, man, this person opened the door. This fake character.
You don't think he's trying to be controversial?
No,
Okay.
because if that's the case,
Go ahead,
we
John.
celebrate George Washington. We
All right, go
celebrate
ahead, John.
Robert Lee.
Okay.
Let's let John respond to you. Go ahead, John.
Okay. A gun without bullets is not a gun. It can't hurt nobody, correct?
Correct.
When you wear one shirt and you wear pig socks, that's putting bullets in a gun. I hate to say it.
Mm-hmm.
When you dress up with one, trying to prove one point with another point, you load the gun to fire a shot.
I don't
sorry.
disagree. John, I don't disagree with you, and we got to get to some of the other callers, and we appreciate your points. 257-5396, again, that number to call with Minister Stretch on in studio with us, 257-5396. Let's go to Bashir. Bashir, you are next on the Vegas Take, and you are on with Minister Stretch. Go ahead, Bashir.
Yeah, so I'd like to say peace to the panel and peace to my brother, Minister Stretch.
Thank you.
brother.
I just want to be quick on my statement, but I think what's happening is that there's essentially two sides of the pendulum, and we're not coming to the middle course. And this is a big problem, thanks to what we will call so-called white America. Because, for example, to take a knee for the national anthem, to kind of, it shows like a sign of disrespect to some. But we have to understand that when these certain freedoms were being celebrated, it didn't apply to what we call so-called African Americans or black people. So when the consciousness of black people wake up and they find out that the Emancipation Proclamation or the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence or the national anthem for itself was not representing before. So I think we're suffering from cognitive dissonance on both sides because our so-called European counterparts or white people will not relate to the plight and the struggles of those that are considered
All right, let's let
minorities and considered inferior.
I appreciate your comments, Bashir. Let's let the minister comment on that. Go ahead, Stretch.
I think Bashir makes some good points. I think that the last gentleman made a statement saying that a gun with bullets is not a gun. That makes no sense. It's like saying a shoe with no shoestrings is not a shoe. At the end of the day, it's still a gun and still a shoe. Colin Kaepernick is trying to be a symbol for justice, a symbol for hope, and a symbol for peace. I think that what he's doing, how he's going about it, is exactly the right way. I think that we can all agree and say, if he had a shirt that said George Washington, or if he had a shirt that said Robert Lee, or any white heroes, quote unquote, no one would say anything about that.
Here's an idea, though.
We
Why not just
celebrate
wear a
Veterans
Nike-
Day.
Here's an idea. Why not just wear a Nike shirt and try to make an NFL roster? How about that?
Why just let him wear a shirt? People wear shirts all the time. And we're
He's trying to get a job in the NFL.
We're trying to compare the NFL to average working class jobs. It's two different structures.
My issue with the Kunta Kinte shirt is that it implied that he is a slave to the NFL.
Yeah, which is
And
ridiculous.
the NFL gave him his platform. Without the NFL, what he's doing right now, no one even knows. Like no one knows who Colin Kaepernick is without football.
That's
I
perspective.
agree
I think
on this level. So he's trying to, attack the hand that is feeding him, that has given him the major platform that he can, which is football.
I agree.
I think the shirt symbol is to say, I will not be a slave to the NFL, and it also can say he does this all the time. One day he may wear a Fred Hampton shirt. So what is he saying? I'm not a Panther?
well,
no.
listen,
This
I think
is how he represents himself and brings awareness to black culture and black freedom.
That's fine, but it shows me that he's not serious about getting back into the NFL.
I totally agree with that.
257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Brian. Brian, you are next on the Vegas Take, and you are on with the minister. Go ahead.
First, I just want to say, amen, Vanessa. What a wonderful phone call earlier last half hour. She's spot on. And let's not forget that Kunta Kinte, the character, was taken slave by another black tribe in Africa and sold to the slave traders. Okay, so this is not just a black and white issue.
Go
or
ahead,
a black
Stretch.
culture issue.
Brian, stay on the line. Stay on the line, Brian. We're going to keep you on. Go ahead, Stretch. Respond to that.
So there were many that participated in the black slave trade. There were some African brothers and sisters who were colonized by white supremacists, and there were also those who were Arabian and so on and so on. But at the end of the day, when he got to America, Kunta Kinte is a fake character. It's representing the real situation. So I'm not going to have a debate about Kunta Kinte and he wasn't even real. Kunta Kinte, what the movie was supposed to symbolize, most people haven't even saw the movie Roots, was supposed to symbolize the story of slavery from a black perspective, a full black narrative. Now, what Miss Vanessa said, I respect her opinion. I respect her as an elder. I don't know her personally, but by her voice, I could tell she's older. But I totally disrespect with her position. I think that, number one, black people have to get off this, shuck and jive. We can't be ourselves and we can't represent ourselves. Him playing football in a Kunta Kinte shirt is nowhere near equivalent to him working at an average job. It's nothing wrong with that.
Brian, go ahead.
Would I wear a Kunta Kinte shirt to an interview locally right now? Of course not. But would I wear that if I'm in a position where I'm my own boss? He's his own boss. The NFL pays him, but he's his own boss.
Brian, go ahead.
He can do that.
Respond to that,
He's
Brian.
his own boss, and it's Nike who's paying him. Let's not forget, Colin Kaepernick is biracial. His father was Caucasian. He impregnated a poor black 19-year-old who gave him up for adoption to a Caucasian couple who raised him as their son, who sent him to college, who nurtured him and loved him and cared for him. So all of this stuff he's doing right now, in my humble opinion, is to impress his girlfriend, Nisa Diab, who is a radical leftist woman, and everything he does is to that. This whole thing about kneeling was to promote Black Lives Matter, which is a hoax from the very beginning. And I send all of your callers, go to YouTube, look at Bill Whittle, Black Lives Matter.
All right, we'll check it out, Brian. I always appreciate it when you call in. Thank you very much. 257
Thanks for the call, Brian.
257-5396, the number to call. Let's go to Ron. Ron, you are next on the Vegas Take. Go ahead.
What's up, Ron?
I just thank you for your time. Brian, you're a sharp guy. And I'd like to say this to the minister. You know where I find the heroes? The two people that raised Colin Kaepernick, who was struggling from a life that he didn't deserve, but two white people picked him up and carried him on into the NFL. Yes, his talent, but their love. You want to know two heroes? Those two people that took him on. Colin, you wear your shirts because you don't know where to base your hate. But let me tell you, that's what's wrong with America today. We don't know where to base our hate. And even the minister there knows there's a very negative side to his religion, as well as sometimes the other religions. But
All right.
God bless us for sticking together and loving and making a difference. His foster parents made a difference.
No, I get your point, Ron. You're absolutely right, and we need to praise any foster parent that does that, Ron. We're gonna go ahead, Stretch. Respond to that.
As far as wearing a Castro shirt,
Yeah,
he is totally
it's ridiculous.
disarmed his whole cause.
I agree. That's ridiculous, Ron, and we appreciate your kind words. Thank you so much. Stretch,
thanks
go
for
ahead and
calling, Ron.
respond to that.
I think, number one, much respect and salute to his parents.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get much praise because they're white, right? They adopted a child. They did the right thing, and they brought in somebody and raised them as their own. So I'm not finna pat them on the back or clap because a white couple adopted a black child. At the end of the day, they wanted a child. They got one. Doesn't matter the race they are. Secondly, every parent's a hero. So the point is, just because you're biracial and just because you're from a white parent doesn't mean you can embrace your black side. He's embracing his black culture. Number one, let's just be honest. What's white culture? What is white culture that black people, other races cannot claim?
I don't know.
So, thank you.
I have my own.
It doesn't exist.
I have my own culture.
It doesn't exist.
I don't really care what white culture is.
I'm talking about American culture that you can. Black people, we can talk about jazz. That's
I
not
can
from
tell you.
Africa.
I can tell you what my culture is. Would you like to hear that?
But I'm
I
saying
enjoy
it's from
gambling. I enjoy
somewhere
going
else,
out with
though.
Asian women, and
But
and that's
everybody can
my
claim
culture.
that. So my thing is,
See, that's fair,
our
Brian.
white
That's
family
very
has
fair.
to. Our
That's
white
my
family has
culture.
to accept the fact that you guys don't have an American culture that other races cannot claim, and so don't get offended when we embrace our own like the gentleman's point is saying, because he has 2 white parents that adopted him, he can't embrace his blackness. It doesn't work like that, right? He can still be black.
I didn't say that, but make no mistake about it. He wasn't brought up in the hood. Colin Kaepernick was not brought up in the hood.
He doesn't have to be brought up in the hood to be proud of being black. Why be threatened? What's up with this? It's like a insecurity complex. White people have that they feel threatened when we embrace our own.
Being proud of being black and wearing a Kunta Kinte shirt in a job interview are 2 completely different things.
If
he wore a shirt that said
race.
If he wore a shirt that said I'm proud to be black, I would not have had a problem with that, even though I think it still would be inappropriate in a job interview. He decides to wear a Kunta Kinte shirt, and I cannot believe you're defending that.
My point is this. Can I say that, first of all, I'm not an NFL player, so I don't know what's the protocol of shirts, but I am saying if a white person would have worn a shirt that said George Washington or Thomas Jefferson, nobody would say anything, and that's the problem. We're making it about race opposed to saying, hey, brother, just wear an NFL shirt. So because they're making it about race, I'm going to deal.
It's a job interview. Nothing should be about race. It's a job.
But every caller from Vanessa to this gentleman has made it about race.
Well, let's get another caller into this.
That's my whole point.
257-5396.
Are we debating about the shirt, or are we debating about the fact that the brother is expressing his blackness?
Well, you can express your blackness, but if you have a job interview and you wear a shirt like that, you're probably not going to get the job.
He's expressing his quote-unquote blackness in the wrong situation.
I agree. 257.
The timing was was poor, and it was poor for a reason because he was trying to create controversy, and that's the issue.
Yeah, that's all right. Let's try to get to some more phone calls here. A few phone lines open with the minister, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Abdul, who's been waiting very patiently on hold. Abdul, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
What's up, Abdul?
Yeah, I want to thank Minister Stretch for just standing in and representing and trying to bring some truth to power to the people in this community. Because, I mean, you guys are emotional. I mean, not you guys, but Brian, very emotional about Cap.
No, I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about. Abdul, I'm a passionate guy. Yeah. Go ahead.
You are a passionate guy, but to the black community, I would say we're not monolithic, but Cap stood up for something. And the thing is, what a lot of people don't know, he actually experienced some profiling in Frisco. I think he was helping one of his teammates.
I never doubted that. I never doubted that.
So he actually got a gun pointed at him from a police officer who thought they were robbing this apartment when they were actually.
And I never doubted that story.
Right. So that's why he really, and this guy talking about Black Lives Matter is a hoax. I don't know where that comes from, but that's what he was really, why he took a knee. It's like not everybody, but people are looking at this America's national anthem like it's some kind of mandatory.
I don't look at it like that. I don't look at it like that.
So
I don't have. Hold on.
Abdul,
I don't have a problem with him kneeling. I've been very open about that. Here's what I have a problem with: people saying that the NFL doesn't have a right to tell him to stop. That's what I have a problem with.
Well, they didn't tell Eric Reed to stop. He was.
And I don't. And guess what? I don't agree with that either. But they have to be consistent.
But the thing is, with the First Amendment allows us the freedom of expression, right? I know you're
not in the workplace. Not in the workplace.
Right, you're basically a private employee. In the NFL and professional sports is different from the regular 9-to-5 gig.
Thank you.
But even in a 9-to-5 gig, it's the same thing.
I wouldn't go to my 9-to-5 gig wearing a Black Power shirt. I wouldn't do that. But Cap, like the minister was saying, he's a private contractor. Whether or not he even wanted a job in the NFL, he's making a statement. And he's making a statement. He's making.
May I respond to him?
Go ahead. Let's
making a statement.
Let's let the minister respond. And Abdul, we appreciate your comments. Go ahead, Minister.
Peace and blessings, Abdul. Thank you for your comment and your statement. I totally agree. He's a private contractor. Now, can we say that if he wore that shirt over his jersey at a game, that's totally different, right? This is a camp. It's a tryout. It's a totally different situation. He has a right to express himself. I think that if this was a white gentleman, we would not have this conversation. And that's the problem, is that our white family always criticizes when black people be black. And just like you have jobs that tell women you can't wear your natural hair, you can't have an afro, you can't do braids, you have to straighten your hair.
That's racist.
So,
you think
but it's the same thing, though.
You think that if there's a white quarterback that was trying out for an NFL team, that if he wore a Hitler shirt, that people wouldn't say anything?
Well, don't just say Hitler, George Washington, who owned slaves.
We're up against the clock, so let's try to take some more phone calls. Let's go to Monique. Monique, you are next on the Vegas Take. Go ahead.
What's up, Monique?
Yes, thank you. First off, I want to start off by saying I don't think you should wear a T-shirt to a job interview that pays that much money.
Right.
This is in Google.
Exactly.
Okay, that is not even that issue. If it was the issue, and I'll say if you had just pointed out specifically the T-shirt, it would be okay. But once you decided to speak on what's on the front of it, I have to agree with the minister. All right. I think that he can wear whatever he wants to wear to that interview, and no one should comment on that. That's exactly where he's at.
So you're okay with a job interview to wear a shirt that says Kunta Kinte?
He should not have worn a T-shirt
right
to this job interview.
Of course.
Because as we know, they have begun to make NFL players, basketball players, all the like, dress better when they come to the interview.
Well, that's in every league. That's NBA,
so
NHL.
Let's just stick with that.
Yeah.
But once you spoke about what was on the front of that shirt, that is when the minister's argument became justifiable. Because then it became, and I understand what you're saying. If you just would have said a T-shirt, I would have been like, why the heck would he do
Monique,
that?
I do not want to.
May I respond to Ms. Monique?
Yes, and unfortunately, Monique, we only have like 20 seconds and we got to go to break.
Okay,
go ahead.
so that's my whole point, right? I'm not knocking the fact that he's wearing a T-shirt. My whole point is when you start talking about what's on the shirt, like you said, if it said something else, you'd be okay with it. That's my problem. We have to stop policing expression and blackness.
Fair enough.
Take the shirt off. But don't force what the content is.
Stretch, I wish we had more time with you because this is a discussion. We could probably do this for hours, but I always appreciate it when you come in, my man. Thank you so much. And we'll join you next week. And I promise you this conversation will continue. Thank you so much for the phone calls. Thank you for your time, Stretch. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this with adult film star Allura Jensen. A little lighthearted conversation coming up next.
Thanks
Take a break. Be
Stretch.
back after this. Thanks.